He hands me the keys to his Cadillac and says, "Hey, go to the airport Marriott and pick up Andre the Giant." I'm trying to, Owen? He says, what? I said, "Did you call me last night?" I said, "Well, I may have." That's all he said. And I knew.
Just the idea of having you come over and ref one of our main events for Over the Top Wrestling, that'd be unreal just to watch you work.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Irish Wrestling Podcast. I'm delighted to have you all joining us. It is me, your host, once again, Sensational Queen Lizzie. It is himself, Booker G, 5 times. And we have two very distinguished guests with us today for the episode. You will know the face, one face anyway, definitely from our previous episodes. It is, of course, the hardest working referee in independent wrestling. And he's our very own Silver Fox, Mr. Niall Fox. How are you, Niall?
I'm unusually shy right now, so I'm under the microscope, so to speak.
Niall is fangirling at the
I'm
moment.
good. I'm good.
Yes, he's good, but he's fangirling, and he has every reason to be fangirling because I am delighted to present our esteemed guest for this week's episode. Our guest is not only an author, a podcaster, host of his own daily podcast, Refin Rants, and many other arrows for his bow. But I think it would be remiss of us to say that is probably one of the most well-known faces in the history of WWE reffing. It is, of course, the one and only Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, we are so happy to have you on the episode of Irish Wrestling Podcast and delighted to get to chat. Can we ask, how are you?
Of course. Delighted to be here. I mean, I'm very excited, and thank you for that introduction. I may need to hire you guys as my PR people.
Come here, look, credit where it's due. And, you know, to be fair, a storied and varied career, but like what a legacy to lead in with. You know, it's amazing. And particularly in Europe, but more particularly in Ireland, wrestling was a huge part of our childhood growing up, a huge part, and it has carried right on into adulthood and beyond. And particularly the wrestling scene in Europe is absolutely huge. We have great talent here. We see a lot of them ship across the water as well. But I think to have somebody with such experience that we grew up with is just, I don't think Niall's the only one fangirling. I think we all are kind of fangirling a little bit, you know. So without any further ado, Jerry has some phenomenal questions for you, and I'm going to pass it over to him.
I hope they're phenomenal. I know you've done a lot of interviews previously, so I hope I'm asking something that's maybe a bit more original.
No, open book. There you go.
Well, to start off with the open book, we're going to start off with your own book, the 3 count, we call it an autobiography of your career as a referee. Starting off, you started off with a legend of people who grew up in our generation. Maybe a younger audience might know the name Jack Tunney. For fans of the early 90s or late 80s, early 90s of WWF at the time, Jack Tunney was a very big household name. Famously stripped Undertaker of the title, stripped Hulk Hogan of the title, ended up, having Ric Flair win the title eventually at the Royal Rumble in '92. But you grew up, maybe as a teenager in your early 20s with Jack Tunney in your life. How did you get introduced to Jack Tunney, first of all? And, how did you end up driving, kind of like we spoke with Justin LaBar, his grandfather used to drive talent around. You ended up doing that yourself before you became a referee. How did you end up meeting Jack Tunney?
Well, it's funny you said that because the Tunney family name has been historic here in Canada. It started with Jack's uncle, Frank Tunney.
Okay.
And Jack, when he unfortunately passed away, Jack took over the promotion, the Tunney Promotions up here. And I had what was the equivalent of season tickets. I used to go to every 3 weeks. They used to run Maple Leaf Gardens here in Toronto. And one of my hobbies was taking pictures.
Okay.
So what I would do, there was a photography development place back when they used to have film, for those of you who remember that back in the day. It was double your prints for $1. So you'd get, a second set of prints for $1. And I thought, this is cool because I can keep one set of prints for myself as a souvenir, as souvenirs from my trip. But I would take the second set and I would go down a little early to the next show and sell the pictures for $2 a picture. So I was helping fuel my habit by having these pictures pay for it, so to speak. So it paid for everything, paid for the, the film, the development, the parking, the ticket, like I said, fueling my habit. And then one day there was a fellow by the name of Elio Zarlengo who worked for Jack Tunney. Mm-hmm. He used to take the pictures ringside for the program at the time. Okay. And he comes up and I'm not putting two and two together. He says, "Hey, you're selling some pictures there. Can I take a look?" I said, "Sure, here you go." He says, "How much are they?" I said, "They're $2 a piece. Unless you want 3, they're 3 for $5. I was trying to make a deal and stuff like that. And he goes, "Oh, by the way, you can't do that. It's illegal." I said, "Why? Who are you?" And he told me who he was. I went, "Oh." Then he said, "You know what? You take some nice pictures, you don't do it in front of the building. Go off to the side where my boss, Jack Tunney, won't see you," and stuff like that. And then after getting to know him for a couple of weeks, he said, "You know what? You take some good pictures. I'm going to introduce you to Jack, and maybe you can help me take pictures for the program." And I thought that would be cool. So he introduced me to Jack Tunney, and Jack said, "You seem like a good guy. We don't need another photographer right now, but we'll find something for you." So one of the first deals was, I show up and he hands me the keys to his Cadillac and says, "Hey, go to the airport Marriott and pick up Andre the Giant." And I'm trying not to look like a fangirl, like you said. So I'm like, "Yes, sir." I'll go, and so that was like my first duty, picking up talent, bringing them down and that sort of thing.
Wow.
And that was Andre, your first pickup? Was that the first person you ever picked?
No, my first person I ever picked up was actually Pat Patterson, who was, at the time, Vince's right-hand man.
Yeah.
I'm talking like 1985. I'm dating myself here. 1985, and Pat was a really good guy. He made me feel comfortable, as opposed to, who is this guy and stuff like that. And he was actually the one responsible for me becoming a referee as well.
Oh, really? How did that happen? How did you transition from driving talent around to actually becoming a referee?
Well, like I said, they used to do Maple Leaf Gardens every 3 weeks, but on the Monday after, always on a Sunday, on the Monday after, they would film 3 weeks worth of Wrestling Challenge at the Brantford Civic Center, which is about an hour and a bit away from outside of Toronto, smaller venue and stuff like that. And again, driving talent back and forth in what they would call a minibus. Pat would always sit up front with me and stuff like that, and we'd chat and all the guys, and he's a fun guy, let's put it that way. And one day we're at the show, and he says to Jack Tunney, he says, "You know what? We have the kid here. He's doing all this stuff, and then he's waiting around all show to drive everybody back. Why don't we use him during the show? Why don't we make him a referee?" And Jack says to Pat, "Hey, do we want to smarten the kid up?" And Pat says, "He's in the locker room with the boys. He knows what's going on. Let's take advantage of it. Let's use him." So he told me to get a pair of black sneakers, black pants, a blue shirt, and a black bow tie, carry it with me at all times. Which is what I did.
And how long were you, going back and forth before you realized, "Oh, this is what I'm going to do. I want to be a referee for the rest of my career," per se?
Well, yeah, because I was working a regular job here, kind of sort of regular. It wasn't, because I needed to take that time off to do the wrestling stuff on the Mondays and stuff like that. But and the odd, now they call them live events, house shows back in the day. And so eventually it was like, you know what, I got to make a choice here. And when I found out that they were more interested in using me outside of just this territory in Canada, I said, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm going to give it a shot.
Amazing.
That's so cool.
That's brilliant. And obviously it was like 87, around 87 time that you ended up with the WWF, WWE now.
It was
Pat that brought you there, or was it Pat Patterson that recommended you to Vince, or was it Jack Tunney that he bring you with you? Or?
No, again, it was Pat doing all the, hey, and Chief Jay Strongbow, who was an agent at the time, a road agent or a producer, as they call him now. He was the one who, again, pushed for me to be used more.
Amazing. And I love you. Obviously, as people know, you spent over 20 years with the WWE, and you had some amazing moments. Obviously being part of the main event of Wrestlemania with Edge and Undertaker, citing one of your biggest moments, and you've had some been involved with, some tragedies throughout. You mentioned in the book regarding Owen and Eddie and stuff passing. Speaking of Owen, AEW recently had the tournament for Owen Hart. Were you ever asked to by AEW? Was that something they ever come into to AEW to be part of that tournament, or be a guest referee for it or anything? Was that ever an option?
No. I was never contacted about it, and it's kind of like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I hate to put it that way, because Owen and I were friends, and we had a great relationship and rapport together. And it almost felt like an honor getting ribbed by Owen, which I was, in the past. But again, a great tragedy, and it would be nice to be a part of that tournament and so forth. But at the same time, it's tough because it brings back so many hard memories. And I don't want to make this about me, because a family lost a husband, a father, a son, that sort of thing. But I was so close to becoming a different part of that tragedy that it still sits with me to this day.
Of course.
Okay. What was the best rib he ever pulled on you? I know he was famous for.
Oh, there was a bunch, but I remember one time I'm in my hotel room. We got in late, and it's like 3:30 in the morning, and my phone rings, and it's, "Hello, this is front desk calling. Your credit card has been declined." And I said, "Pardon me?" I said, "Your credit card. You have to come down and settle this right now." And I'm thinking, "Can't we do this in the morning?" He said, "No, sir. We have to do it right now." So okay, so I go down to the front desk and I said, "Hi, I'm Jimmy Korderas, and I got called from the front desk. My credit card's been declined." They said, "We didn't call you." I said, what do you mean?" And I kind of, now I'm starting to put two and two together. And, the next morning, Owen, he says, "What?" I said, "Did you call me last night?" I said, "Well, I may have." That's all he said. And I knew.
Obviously, for 20 years of refereeing, you obviously were involved in a lot of other stuff backstage. Did you get a chance to train other referees as they come in the door? Was that something part of your curriculum? Like, was that something that you had to do on a regular basis, or?
No, it wasn't like thrust upon us, so to speak. We worked together and we helped each other out. It was a very good, like I call it, brothers and sisters in stripes. We worked well together. Because WWE had their way of doing things and what Vince liked, and if you can't see both shoulders, don't count, and that kind of stuff, and watch your camera angles, and there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. So, for example, when the WCW guys came over, they came to us and said, "Okay, what does Vince, what do we need to do?" and stuff like that. So we talked it over. But the only time I was asked to look after and train is back before there was NXT. They had FCW.
Yeah.
And they were having some tryouts and that sort of thing. And they were bringing wrestlers in to try it. But then a couple of times they brought in referees, and they asked me if I would go down to Tampa at the time and just evaluate and look at them and stuff like that, and see who looked like they had, like they would fit into WWE, let's put it that way, or at the time. And it was actually quite an honor for them to ask. It's like, wow, they think enough of me to go do that. That's kind of cool. So other than that, I wasn't really asked to help out, but we helped each other out. If somebody noticed something, it wasn't done with any malice. It was like, "Hey, in the match when this happened, you kind of did that. Oh, okay, I got to watch out for that."
Amazing. Yeah, that's cool. And since then, you've obviously retired from the refereeing side of things. You've moved into podcasting now. Like I said, we spoke with Justin and Jack and everybody with the Wrestling podcast. How has it been transitioning from being in WWE to talking about WWE, or just sitting down and watching the product now as a fan, as opposed to being part of the product?
Yeah, that's the hard part, though, because I was involved in it. It's hard to sit back and at times and watch it as a fan, because I'll notice something. Let's say, for example, something a referee does, and I'll say, "Why did the referee react like that? Why did they do that?" That kind of thing. It's that mentality that I have, instead of sitting back and going, "Oh, you know what? Just enjoy, sit back and relax." So sometimes I can do that, and other times it's like, "Oh, that was glaring." But maybe other people. I'll give you an example. In 2019, we used to do a TV show here in Canada called. It was originally called Right After Wrestling, then became Aftermath. And it was on the station that aired WWE programming here in Canada. So when SummerSlam was here, in 2019 in Toronto. The producer of the show, I was sitting beside him, and I saw one of the referees had a tell for false finishes, where I knew it was not the finish because, my brain was working that way. And he was going, "Oh, I thought that was it." And I was like, "Nah." He says, "Yeah." He says, "But you know what?" I said, "No, I don't know what the finish to this match is. I don't. I just knew it wasn't the finish." And he goes, "Oh, I thought that was it." There were good false finishes. It's just that I saw the tell.
Yeah.
He says, "What's going on?" I said, "The referee has a towel, and that's why I know. No other reason. I don't know the finishing." He says, "What's the tell?" I said, "I don't want to tell you."
And you'd be looking at it the whole time.
Exactly. So he finally convinced me to tell him, and I told James, his name was James. I said, "James, this is his tell," and I won't say it here because it'll give it away.
Yeah.
And if somebody knows it, and he says, "Oh my goodness, you're right. I can't unsee it now." I said, "That's why I don't." So when I do my critiques, I don't give away that kind of stuff because, like he said, you won't be able to unsee it.
That must be so difficult.
Yeah.
I imagine
even
you
for
get
talent,
so used to it that you're so hardwired to how you would do it that when you see someone else, it's like, "Oh, I got it. I know it. There it is. Oh, he's kicking out. Oh, there it is." It becomes muscle memory. I think that you just instinctively know. It's like as Jimmy is saying there, like with tell, like when you see someone do it, going forward, you can't unsee it. You cannot, no matter how hard you try, even if you're so enthralled with the match. Like if you're looking at if you're involved and you're just looking at it as a fan, once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's hard to kind of keep you sucked into a really good match when you get to that point.
Is there a way of training the referee not to have that tell? Is there a way of, like, pulling it out of them?
Well, the best way to do is sit down with them, show them on video, because a lot of it is not, they don't realize they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to show them, and it's the great things about so many house shows / live events. When you're on the live events, you can work on that sort of thing. When you're only working once a week just at television, it's tough because, like you were saying, muscle memory. It's instinctive sometimes. But the best way to do it is to try and keep it in mind, keep your counts and cadence of your counts consistent, and try not to. I get, as the match progresses and it starts getting a little more, involved and accelerated, you get a little more animated, but still that count has to be similar cadence all the time.
Do you think with AEW, I know they're starting to do live events now, but for the last 4 years they haven't really done live events. Do you think that would maybe have affected the refereeing in AEW? I know sometimes people pick at the referees for AEW, maybe they don't, they're not in the right position, they're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. Do you think maybe not being part of live events maybe is a reason for that?
It may be. I just feel like, because I hate to rank on our brothers and sisters in the stripes. I hate that, but at the same time, I feel like the refereeing in AEW needs a lot of help, in the sense that I don't think they're being guided.
Okay.
They're not being, they don't, like I said, what we used to do back in the day is we, pull someone to the side and said, "Hey, you did this in the match. Maybe you should think about toning things down," because one of the things I've noticed in AEW is the referees are very noticeable. And the referee, yes, he's part of the match and an important part of the match, but the referee is there to help the talent tell their story.
Yeah.
Unless there is a spot there that involves the referee to be a part of the story. So, and sometimes when you see a face-off between two talents, for example, it's a little thing. It sounds like a little thing, but what's the big deal? When two talents have a face-off in the middle of the ring and the hard camera's focusing in on them, you don't want this guy's face in the middle going like this. Stand just off to the side a little bit and let the talent be, little things like that.
Yeah, I've seen that in AEW a few times. I know, I'm not going to say who it was, but I've seen a referee do that a few times and be in the middle of that shot, and you're just get out of the way.
Yeah.
They're almost like supporting actors and actresses, aren't they, really? They have like a prominent feature, but, again, it's to highlight the performance of the main ones. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
We're there to help them tell not only the best story, but to help them give the best match possible for the show.
Yeah.
And with natural escalation, obviously, like your temperament should complement that, not take away from it. See, I'll put my hand up. I'm guilty of being in the middle of a face-off, just because, I haven't been taught others. But my experience as a referee has been purely self-taught, because we don't really have referees from the past to help here. And likewise, when any chance that we get someone that travels over, I'm trying to pick the brain. I'm trying to watch them and learn. But my experience is purely from show to show to show to show and trial and error. So it'd be a bit different to a normal, because I imagine with the States, it'd be, because it's so vast, like Charleston, you probably hit promotion or different territories or different ways of doing things. But here, it's a small country, so chances are you're going to be working with the same people all the time. So you're not really going to have much outside help, so to speak. So that's me putting my hands up and saying, that's me. I'm here by myself.
We should get Jimmy over. There you go. We should get Jimmy over, I think.
Is that something that you've done since you retired, Jimmy? Have you done seminars, or do you coach?
I've done a couple. I have done a couple. Obviously in the last few years with what's been going on with the COVID situation, that sort of thing, haven't been traveling much, but I have done seminars, and it's nice. It's nice. First, it's nice to be asked. It's very, and like I said, I try to help, not preach.
Oh, I think you'd be great to have over for a seminar. I really do. Or maybe a guest referee spot in one of our promotions here in Ireland, I think would be fabulous.
Maybe.
You never know. Just the idea of having you come over and ref one of our main events for Over the Top Wrestling, that'd be unreal, just to watch you work.
Oh, that's amazing. I appreciate that. Thank you. If my knees and shoulders are cool with it, and that's the other thing too that people don't realize, that it took me a while to discover. Hey, I should put some like sleeves on my knees or something like that. When because you don't want to look like you're, for lack of a better term, I hate to use it, wuss in the ring, because the talent are the ones taking all the big bumps, but that up and down on your knees, and especially in WWE, when they say they want you to count. When you count, they want to hear it too, nice and loud. So you're pounding.
You're throwing.
Oh my goodness, the shoulders, the elbow, and you feel it. You feel it. I'm not saying it's as bad as taking a huge bump, but or a twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splash, but it still takes.
Effort is being made. Effort is being made for those counts.
You've definitely taken a few bumps in your time as well. What was the worst bump you've taken?
I've been, when I think about all the bumps I've taken over the scariest one was the first one I took on TV, which was the 747 splash from the One Man Gang.
Oh,
and it was actually the first time I was brought in for TV in Glens Falls, New York, and back then they used to film 3 hours worth of superstars. So on the third hour, Pat comes up to me and says, "We've changed things up a little bit. You're going to be reffing One Man Gang's match against, oh my goodness, I can't remember. It was, anyways, doesn't matter. You're going to be reffing One Man Gang's match. Get with Gang. He'll tell you what he wants you to do." I said, "Okay, cool." I said, "Gang, I'm reffing your match." He says, "Cool. Here's what's going to happen." Dave Studemeyer was the guy. There you go. He says, "I'm going to give Dave my finish. You're going to count 1, 2, 3. You're going to raise my hand. I'm going to kind of slightly shove you out of the way. I'm going to pick him up and give it to him again." He says, "You get in my face and you really give it to me. And then I'll hook you and I'll give it to you." Just like that. Simple. And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, do I ask any questions here? What do I say? He says, "Are you okay with that?" I said, "What am I supposed to say?" "Yes, sir." I'm fine with it. So, he does the deal. Then he hooks me. And all I thought was stay straight and land as flat as possible. And I felt the landing, but I was so wired. I didn't feel it. I just said, "Just lay here until they come and get me." That was it. And that was the first one I took. But one of the worst bumps, believe it or not, was I did a match with Vader and Savio Vega on TV one time. And after the match, Vader grabs me when I had hair, grabs me by the hair and headbutts me.
Oh.
And I'm supposed to stagger, and then he headbutts me again and shoots me up. But the first headbutt, he hit me so hard, I chipped a tooth. Believe it or not. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and I was woozy as well. So he hits me with the second one and throws me outside the ring, and I land right beside Savio Vega. And Savio says, I guess he was watching on the screen. He put his arm around me. He says, "Stay here, buddy."
Just
Wow.
off that, like, has there ever been like either a bump or a spot in particular where you have either refused or just said, look, no, this doesn't either make sense, or this compromises me as a referee for what's needed? Has that ever happened?
I haven't technically refused, but I've offered suggestions, especially when it comes to referee distractions. Because I would say a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes what they suggest puts the heat on the wrong person. It puts the heat on the referee as opposed to putting it on the heel where it belongs. The heel's supposed to look like they're outsmarting the referee, as opposed to, oh, just turn your back and don't see it. Why am I turning my back?
Give me a reason to turn my back.
Yes, exactly. But, I would offer suggestions, but if they wanted me to do, whatever they wanted me to do, I would do it. At the end of the day, let's put it that way. Sometimes I would look, you just don't want to come back to the gorilla position and have the boss put his glasses down at the end of his nose and give you come here, buddy.
That's something that's prominent, and it's probably prominent for a long time. Like, but seen people talk about a lot is the distraction finishes in wrestling at the moment. It seems to be happening, more than once a show. Is it overdone now? Is it happening too much?
I believe it is. I believe the distractions are happening far too much. There's a lot of factions out there and multi-person groups out there, and I get it, having somebody ringside and causing a distraction and so forth. But it's like everything else in wrestling. When it happens too often, it starts to mean less and less every time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here we go again, another distraction. Oh, here, like one of the finishes we're seeing a lot now is the roll-up finish, the surprise roll-up.
Surprise roll-up.
That's another thing we're seeing far too often now.
Yeah.
It means less and less. Yes, the roll-up of doom. It means less and less the more you do it.
I think so. And sometimes I think a lot, especially if you're a long-term fan, like we will be lifelong fans, and God, the wrestling community is just vast now, but they've seen so much in their fandom. So when they see things like this, they're very quick to critique it as lazy booking and, just lazy match calling. And again, just overuse that it can seem a little bit, so we've seen it again, like blood as well as the same at the moment. So people are kind of like, all right, okay, it's another bleeding match, kind of a thing. So definitely, I think if it adds to a story, yes, but when it's adding to every single story, is it special anymore? It's kind of gone, isn't it?
No, that's absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. Let's put it that way.
On that note, are you ready to play Quiz with Liz?
Might go.
Oh, Quiz with Liz. Let's do this.
Excellent. Fantastic, Jimmy. So it's just going to be a series of questions, just either or. You'll have an option of which one to go for, and a few random ones thrown in as well, just for a bit of fun.
Okay.
Fabulous. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm ready.
Excellent. So tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Meat or fish?
Oh, meat. I'm of Mediterranean descent, Greek descent. We eat meat, and if we don't like meat, we eat lamb.
There you go. I love it. Sweet or savory?
I have a sweet tooth. Well, a few of them. Let's put it that way.
Not the one that was chipped.
No.
Be notorious or go unnoticed?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Would you like to be notorious or go unnoticed?
I'd rather be unnoticed. Let's put it that way. I don't want to be very visible. Let's put it that way.
Excellent. Best wrestling promotion in which to be a referee now.
Best wrestling promotion, which would be a referee now. I would like to say my old employer, WWE, is probably it because they do care about how the referees are presented and so forth.
Cool. That's good to know. Cold hands or cold feet?
I prefer having cold hands because when I have cold feet, it chills the rest of your body.
Yeah, hard to get them warm, isn't it? Is Montez Ford a solo star?
I'm sorry?
Is Montez Ford a solo star?
I believe he has the talent to be a solo star, and it almost. I think Angelo Dawkins does too. He's been showing it lately, but Montez Ford does have all the tools.
Fantastic. Favorite superstar you have worked with, and you can't say Edge.
Okay, other favorite superstar that I've worked with other than Edge. Oh man, how do I? Can I pick my three favorites? Because picking the one favorite.
No rules here.
No, obviously Eddie was awesome. Undertaker was great. And if I had to pick another one, for some reason, it was JBL. I had so much fun in the ring with JBL.
Really?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I think it's a bit easier if they make your job more fun, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Tell me, does AEW need GM?
I don't think they need it, but it would be good to have an authority figure that they could play off of.
Yeah. Perfect. Winter or spring?
Spring, definitely, because in spring you get nice rain and you don't have to shovel the rain from your driveway.
Good call. Hitting the dance floor, out of my way or not today?
Oh my goodness. What was the first one again?
Out of my way or not today?
Not today.
Not today. Not a big dancer, Jimmy, no?
No, I don't mind dancing. I like dancing.
Yeah, excellent. Assign the following to Jack, Justin, and Issa.
Okay.
DQ. You're here.
Oh, that would definitely have to be
3 count.
Oh, both would have to be Jack. Oh no, wait, maybe I have to do the fast 3 count for Justin.
I think you might. So Justin,
yeah, but as far as the DQ goes, that's got to be Jack. Only because between the three of us, as we call it, Triple J, myself, Justin, and Jack, he's got the nice hair and he flaunts it.
The DQ. So that leaves poor Issa with "You're out of here."
Yep.
Oh, she's gonna love that.
No, I can't give Issa "You're out of here." No.
Okay.
Well,
we'll give her a distraction finish.
There you go.
Board games or computer games?
Oh my goodness. I know we're living in the computer age, but the old board games, they bring back so many great memories.
Definitely. Dream match to referee.
I'm sorry? Dream match?
A dream match for you to referee. What would be your dream match?
Currently, right now, with current talent?
Mm-hmm. Anyone you like.
Oh, I would. Oh man, if I could do a match similar to Hogan Rock that Mike Chioda got to do at Wrestlemania here in Toronto, that would be awesome.
Brilliant.
Because you know that reaction they got, it just goes to show you that I mentioned the twisting burning 450 hammer Phoenix splash earlier. Mm-hmm. You don't need to do that once you have the audience invested. Yes. They just stood there looking at each other, and the crowd was livid.
Yeah. We don't have to high flight to tell a story, do we?
No.
Definitely not. In the kitchen, Jimmy, are you cooking up a storm or are you just keeping it warm?
Oh, I'm cooking up a storm. I like to do every once in a while what I refer to as ref to chef.
Oh, I love that.
That's a TV show. That's a YouTube show or something.
Oh, you never know. Maybe somewhere down the road.
Oh, I'm loving that. That's brilliant. My God, imagine all of the cooking phrases you could come up with like ref innuendo. Amazing.
Visiting
my good
colleagues and having a cook-off with them or something.
No, you never know. You never know. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. That's amazing. Ask permission or beg forgiveness.
I'm very much an ask permission guy.
Really?
I don't like begging forgiveness later because sometimes it's hard to get that forgiveness.
Which would you do? Babysit Damien the Snake or Frankie the Macau?
Oh, Frankie for sure. Trust me, as someone who's actually not really babysat Damien, but had to look after him for short periods of time. No, thank you. Not my cup of tea.
Excellent. Ted DiBiase's laugh or Macho Man's woo yeah?
Oh, both guys were awesome, but I love Randy's. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Now, here is the cliffhanger, your final question. So take some time and think about this.
Okay.
Reffing Edge versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania or appearing on Quiz with Liz?
Oh, boy.
Take your time.
Because that's a tough one. I mean,
right.
You know, as big a moment as Edge versus Undertaker was at WrestleMania main eventing, Quiz with Liz tops it all.
No, Jimmy, I just wanted to kind of pause so Edge and Undertaker didn't feel too bad. So that was your Quiz with Liz, Jimmy. Thank you so much for taking part. Such good fun.
No, that was fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Brilliant. Thanks for taking part in that. Before we let you go, Jimmy, this year just gone, Timmy White got inducted finally after years of wanting into the WWE Hall of Fame. Who is next? If somebody's getting inducted this year or this year's WrestleMania, who do you think deserves it?
It would have to be a 2-for-1. The Hebner twins.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Agreed.
I think David was a great mentor to me and teacher. And then when Earl came aboard, I was there that night. They did the infamous
the switcheroo.
Yeah. And they didn't tell anybody about it, so we didn't know. So, and we hadn't seen either of the, really quickly here, I'll get at, we hadn't seen the Hebners all day. We knew they were refereeing the match. They had Dave listed as, so, as the match starts, we're watching on the monitor in the back, and I'm like, oh, Dave's lost some weight. He's looking good, and I'm making myself a coffee. And as I'm making myself a coffee, which was beside the stand was beside the monitor behind me, hiding in the shadows, I look and I see Dave, and I went, what? And I, what's going on here? And he went, oh, and I went, oh my goodness. And I'm trying to think, and now it's starting to come to me. That's right. He has a twin brother who works in the NWA.
Oh my
God. Okay, now I got to watch and see what's going on. So that was a cool moment.
That's
the original twin magic.
That was our first time ever in the locker room or ever in the WWF, was it?
Yes, and they kept him hidden.
That was amazing.
That is incredible. What a story. The fact that nobody knew. That's mind-blowing. Wow.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think they're fully deserving of being in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Before Niall, is there any questions, anything you want to ask Jimmy before we go?
I've just been sitting back and listening, so I'm holy crap. I've been put on the spot.
I'm starstruck.
I've been put on the spot. Okay. I suppose I'll be remiss. What advice would you give to people starting in the business as a referee? In the sense of now, I started as a wrestler and I transitioned to be a referee, and that's where I am now, and I'm happy with that. But for other people that the mindset nowadays is that a lot of people want to be a wrestler, but they don't go in thinking how can I be involved, but not if wrestling isn't working out, how do I go about it? Some people don't realize that referee is a great option to be involved, but also it's just a lot of fun. The more you learn, but what advice would you give to new referees that are starting out or thinking of starting in wrestling?
The major advice I would give young referees who are just starting out or thinking of starting out is be respectful of everyone in the locker room. It doesn't matter. Everyone, conduct yourself in a professional manner and don't be afraid to ask questions, but do it in a, in a respectful way, and especially those referees who have been around a while. Ask the wrestlers themselves who have been around a while. Ask questions on how to react to certain things. Like one of the things I still gets me these days, overreacting. And I get it, when you're on TV, you want to react so that people up in the upper deck can see you. But at the same time, you don't want to overdo it where people go, okay, that's a little bit too much. Subtle reactions, especially when you're doing TV, work a lot more. And try to make it look real, as opposed to, oh my God, like if you go, oh, just a little something like that works as well too. But like I said, don't be afraid to ask questions, get in there, work with the talent, ask people to watch your matches and critique them.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Because I'd say, as I say, it's not the easiest of transitions, but Nyla's done it very successfully. But I think
it's a long road. It was a long road, and even then, I'm not even like that great. So like, it's just that I have very little competition here in Ireland. So like,
well, for now, it's different too. Coming from the world of being an in-ring talent, a wrestler, transitioning to a referee. Now you've gone from being the main part of the story to, like you said, a
support role.
Background supporting role. Yes, exactly. So trying to tone it down a little bit, and you know what I mean? It's a different.
It's to fight the natural urge to be like exaggerated and just animated. It still comes out, but I've learned to kind of like subdue it a good bit and try to use it to add to what's going on rather than take away.
Understood very much, please. I do. I get it.
Fantastic. That is something else. Fabulous. I'm delighted that I got a chance to chat with you now as well.
Yeah, amazing. Before we let you go, Jimmy, where can people find you? What have you got stuff coming up with Wrestling Inc. or Refin Rants? I know you're involved with another podcast with
yes,
Brian.
No, absolutely. Like Wrestling Inc. podcast, Monday nights after Raw with Triple J with Jack and Justin is our usual threesome, and on Wednesday nights after AEW Dynamite, it's usually Justin, myself, and Issa. And of course, now I've started doing the Refin It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hemner, and RJ, who's our host, who does a wonderful job putting everything together for us. Technically disadvantaged individuals who are not great at editing and all that kind of stuff. But we have a lot of fun with that. And of course, like you mentioned, Monday to Friday on all my on social media platforms, I do my Refin Rants. They're only a minute long, and people will say, why are they only a minute? It's just a small critique, not to tear down, but to hopefully help and, tighten little screws that need to be tightened, in my opinion.
Definitely. Busy man, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We will leave links for all those, the Refin Rants in the description below. For everybody to check them out, so go check out Jimmy and subscribe to it's on YouTube. Is the ref show that you do, is that on YouTube, or is that Refin It Up? Is that purely audio?
It's on podcast platforms. Unfortunately, RJ takes care of that, and I just do the retweeting for it. So look for it out there on my Twitter at Jimmy Korderas.
Find it. Definitely, we'll find it. Fantastic. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a roller coaster, but it's just been so engaging and I think beneficial for anyone who's going to be listening, and also a nice trip down memory lane and to see how you started off and where you are now and the journey you've been on. I think that can be inspiring for a lot of people. So thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure, a lot of fun, and who knows? Down the road, we may do this again.
You never know.
If we can get you over.
Yeah, we'll get Jimmy over for a seminar, definitely.
Like they say, never say never in the wrestling business.
Exactly.
That's true.
Never means it doesn't.
One more month.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. If you would like to see more of this, please let us know. Comment down below. Did you enjoy us chatting to Jimmy? Maybe you have some questions for him. If you do, make sure and find him on Refin It Up. Make sure and find his Refin Rants as well. That come out Monday through Friday. Wrestling Inc. even on Mondays and Wednesdays as well, where he is a vital part. Definitely on Mondays up Triple J anyway, otherwise it's just a double J, isn't it? And we had one of them. So definitely catch them on Monday and Wednesdays on Wrestling Inc. If you have not subscribed to Irish Wrestling Podcast, what are you doing? Find us on YouTube. Make sure and like to comment and subscribe. Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, you will have us at Irish Wrestling 8. On TikTok, you can go and join the millions and millions of views that we have had and become, of course, a follower there too. So for myself being Sensational Queen Lizzie, himself being Booker G 5 times, the hardest working referee in Europe and on the independent scene has got to be Niall Fox, and the one and only Jimmy Korderas for joining us. We'll see you all again soon next time. Bye for now.
Bye.